Okay, everyone, this is how to study for the T1 exam. Before we get into it, I want to remind you this video is made by us, and we also made the trimester exam. So our advice about how to study for the exam is very good because we know exactly what's on it and we know what skills you need to have and what knowledge you need to have. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is how to make flashcards, because last week we saw a lot of people really struggling with vocab and using vocab properly. So flashcards, you can use index cards to make them, and we have a ton of index cards. So if you want to do this, you can just ask us for some index cards. The front looks like this with lines, and then the back looks like this, blank. So when you're making flashcards, you're going to write on the back the definition, and on the front the word. So in this example, on the back, you're writing the definition, a structure inside a cell with a specific function, and then on the front, you write the word you're talking about, organelle. There's two ways to use these. You can either look at the definition and try to guess the word, or you can look at the word and try to guess the definition, or try to remember the definition, I should say. So for example, if we're given this term, respiratory system, I'm going to try to remember what that means. So I'm remembering system. It's an organ system. And respiratory, that sounds like respiration. So that has to do with breathing. So I'm remembering what this is. And I'm going to now check, now that I've remembered. Let's talk about, organ system made up of lungs, mouth, nose. Right, okay, it brings in oxygen. Okay, and then here it says needed for cellular respiration. Now, this isn't really like an essential part of the definition, but with these flashcards, the more information that you put on the back, the more helpful that they're gonna be for you to be able to connect different ideas together. Knowing the definition of the respiratory system on its own is not ever going to really be a question on any of our exams. You're going to need to have to connect it with other information. For example, you're going to need to know, what does it do for cellular respiration? It brings in oxygen. So adding extra little tidbits like this when you have them makes this study resource actually way more helpful to you. Okay. The other way you can use them is by looking at the definition first and trying to remember the word. A state of balance in the body achieved by many organ systems working together. So I'm having a hard time remembering this one, and honestly, there's something that I could have added to this definition that would help me so much more. I could add an example. If I added here an example of glucose regulation, this might help me remember more. Or that's thick, okay. Thermoregulation. That might help me remember better that this is, of course, talking about homeostasis. So yeah, that's just another point about adding examples, adding any extra information to the back of that card is going to help you make the most use out of this resource. Let's end to study. I want to talk about this thing called spaced repetition, which helps us understand that studying effectively is not about spending one chunk of 3 hours at a time looking at your material and then never going back to it. It's actually much better for you to dedicate 15 to 30 minutes on a regular basis and repeat that over and over. So you can see in this graph here, recall percentage. That means like how much do you remember? So you can see the first time they learned it, they were way up here, and then they quickly drop down. Then they repeat it. They refresh their memory and they go back up, but then they go down a little bit again. And then you can see that each time they repeat it, their recall percentage goes down by less. So this is showing you, and this is studied, like this is not made up, it's from real studies about the best ways to remember information. This shows you that the more you repeat your studying, that's how you're going to remember more over time. So at this point, you need to be making a schedule for yourself about when you're going to study. And you need to say, okay, I'm going to spend 25 minutes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday studying for biology. And that's so doable. Think of 25 minutes. That's like half an episode of a show, or, it's a manageable amount of time. It's realistic to set that amount aside, and doing that repeatedly rather than cramming everything in the night before the exam is going to be way, way, way more effective for you. Also, planning it out like this gives you the opportunity to come in for help if you need it. If you're studying only the night before the exam, if any questions come up, you're not going to have any time to ask them. You need to start studying right now for this exam so that you're having time to come in for more help. All right, I just want to talk about a couple other things that you can do while you're studying. One is this like brain dump and then notebook review thing. So you would pick a topic, for example, cellular respiration, and you're going to write down everything you can remember about it. So yeah, pick a topic, check, write down everything you can remember about the topic. Okay, so I've taken a minute and I've written down everything that I could remember about cellular respiration. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go into my notebook and review all the materials I have about cellular respiration and see what pieces I'm missing and see what more I can add. So going back through your notebook, you might be looking for one specific piece of information, like what does the C stand for? Or you might say, oh, right, of course, it occurs in the mitochondria. That's not something that I was specifically wondering about before, but it's something that I remember now. That's important. It happens in the mitochondria. So you really need to be going through your notebook to review information, because there's pieces of information that you don't even know that you're forgetting about anymore. So you're not going to be able to Google it or ask a friend, because you just need to review like all the information that we've given you about this stuff. Yeah, so this is just like pick a topic, write everything you can remember, and then go through your notebook. Doing like 2 of these per day will be a really great way to study. And then the last one, of course, is practice questions. So we've provided you with some practice materials for the exam, but another way that you can find more practice questions is just on Google. So you can search things like life science biology practice questions, natural selection, or living environment group behavior practice questions. Searching up things like this and using those practice questions and then checking your work is a really, really great way to prepare for the exam. Okay, if you have any questions about these study techniques, please let us know in office hours, or if you want to practice them together, come to office hours and we can do that. Have a great day, guys.